So we have with us Dr. Kumar Krishen. He is former senior technologist at NASA. He's visiting India currently, and he'll tell us more about the purpose of his visit. Dr. Kumar Krishen, welcome, and tell us more about what is the purpose of your visit this time.
Thank you, Joshi sir. I am interacting with all three sectors of Bharat economy. In the academic sector, I'm interacting with children, students from very needy families, such as farm workers, workers who are involved in building roads, etc., and workers who are working inside homes. So I have about 80 to 90 of these children from three states of India, and I am both academically involved and resource-wise helping these students. The second set of work is involved with the universities, for example, in the academic sector, colleges and schools, talking about my experience of more than 60 years with space sector, bringing that part of my experience and sharing that experience with students and faculty. The third part is trying to feed to these academic institutions some background that I have in innovation and inspiration. So in the commercial sector, I have been requested to review quite a few projects from different industries. Maybe some of them are in manufacturing sector, AI sector, computer programming sector, and so on, software sector. And in that arena, I'm reviewing these projects and critiquing the approaches and suggesting new approaches where applicable. In the third arena, in the government sector, I'm trying to help with the security. That's a big issue for Bharat, where terrorists come, use such things as forests, as hiding their identity and hiding their paths, tunnels, etc. How can we find presence of humans and ammunition under dense forests, under tunnels? So that's what I'm involved here.
Today, as we'll discuss the technology of AI. What's your view on this? What do you think how AI is changing today's India and today's world?
I think I will give you a little bit of general preview. In the space center, the need for this AI, artificial intelligence, which you and I discussed previously, I call it transferred intelligence, transferred from humans to machines. But regardless of that, in the space sector, there is a need for this because, for example, the space environment is very harsh. Temperatures, radiation, and lack of, for example, air and lack of resources, water, etc., land, makes it imperative that we do not send astronauts to do things in open space or on the surface of Moon and Mars unless and until there's a need for it. So it forced us, pushed us to do the work with robots as much as we possibly could. At Johnson Space Center, we developed a robonaut, for example, to help the astronauts to do tasks which required a repeated intervention, which the astronauts could really gain in terms of time and resources. But what I was going to tell you is that that is a must for space because, for example, another need that arose while I was at Johnson Space Center is in the training arena and running the missions. There is a lot of data that comes back from a mission like shuttle, huge number of data streams,
So
thousands of them.
You were telling us about the different advantages of AI, which I'm sure there are plenty. But there is, a big problem that it will lead to a lot of job loss. I was checking one news report in Fortune, which refers to one study by WEF, Future of Jobs report. It says that there'll be several new jobs created by the AI, and at the same time, there'll be several job losses. And the net job loss in next 2 years, that is by 2027, there'll be a total of 14 million job losses, regardless of the new jobs created. So even though we all agree about the advantages which the AI will bring. So what do you think about the job losses which AI will trigger? Do you think the youngsters today, do you think they need to be scared of the advent of AI?
I have a exactly different point of view. I think it will lead to job gains This may a little bit surprise you. In other words, I think this will be
No,
a
that's
gold mine
exactly
in
that's
terms of.
exactly my question is. I mean, at the same time, there'll be several new job creations and the job losses. But several reports, I mean, I'm just quoting one report by WEF, the Future of Jobs report, that says that even if you consider the new job creation, there'll be net job losses of 14 million. And that's not in next 10 years, but in just 2 years. And there are several such reports by different think tanks and different centers, which say that the number of jobs created will be far less than the number of job losses. So what do you have to say about this?
I have to say this, that my point of view is just there will be a gain of jobs. And I can sit here for hours to lecture on how that will happen. It will happen because we don't have these systems, and these systems cannot run automatically. It's like 40 years ago, we had a discussion at Johnson Space Center that we want to make a car go autonomously. And I had a different point of view. I was the only one out of 30 or so participants in that room that raised the hand. And I said, making a car totally autonomous will be impossible and dangerous. You can make a car autonomous if you have made a highway compatible with that autonomy. But if your highway is just like it is, and the weather is just like it is, rain, fog, night, day, you are going to see a lot of accidents. And that's what happened. 2 or 3 accidents happened. People got killed. There were lawsuits. How many cars do you see now running on the road all by themselves? So that was my prediction at that time, 40 years ago. And everybody in the room disagreed with me. But my source of confidence came from even to give a car the eyes to see in diverse environments that we face, to see diversity of road itself, bends and kinks and ups and downs. It's not an easy task. So just the vision, providing the vision to a robot is itself. Then to provide that vision part comes through the senses. We have 5 senses in the humans. We integrate these senses in our mind, brain, and we can see things like I can see Joshi sir. But my point is, then we go beyond that. What is beyond that? That's called, in my viewpoint, intelligence, where you are able to predict what will happen in Delhi in terms of weather after 7 days. That prediction comes from deep learning.
So you have been innovation champion, as you mentioned, in Johnson Space Research Center at NASA. So can you tell us about, what are the key technologies wherein the AI application will be very, very pertinent? One space technology you mentioned, other technologies, wherein AI will be very, very useful.
I think if we go on the Earth application, in the space, I made it clear to you that everywhere where we need astronauts for, if possible, we should be replacing astronaut time and interaction with the environment with machines. You may want to call them robots. That's fine. In other words, if we construct something on the moon and go to Mars and develop something like a farming capability where we can raise crops, we should use robotics to do these kind of things. Now let's go on the Earth. I think you have to understand, it's not a formula that will apply all over. There are 3 main economic sectors in any nation. There is the government sector, there is the commercial sector, there is the academic sector. And how artificial intelligence, I call it transferred intelligence, I repeat myself, but where it will apply very differently in these sectors. Let me give you examples. In the government sector, for example, right now, there's a big thing going on in countries, democratic countries, that's election. How do you have a fair election? A fair election could be just hands off of humans, but that's a tall order. But that tall order could be fulfilled by artificial intelligence that can recognize and make sure that a validated voter is voting, and then do the rest of the things like counting, etc., etc. This is just a trivial example, but the government runs on many fronts. For example, the defense sector of the government will highly be benefited by artificial intelligence, because you don't want to risk soldiers where you want to risk, you'd much rather risk machines rather than soldiers, because human life is much more precious than a machine. So in the government sector, now you got an indication. Now let's move on to the commercial sector. In the commercial sector, your attempt is to make increase the quantity and quality of products and services. Now, what you have to do is you have to marry the human capability with the machine capability. You can call it AI, that's fine with me. But you have to marry these capabilities to enable higher quality and higher quantity of products and services. That's the nutshell of how AI will revolutionize commercial work. Let's talk about academic world. In the academic world, teaching tools will be incredibly affected by artificial intelligence. They already are. There are intelligent tutoring systems. There are intelligent ways of bringing three-dimensional models, whatnot. I've seen it year by year, progressing by leaps and bounds, where students are able to see practically how an electromagnetic wave strikes a surface, complicated surface, and comes back. In my day and age, when I was doing these kind of what we call inverse scattering problem, where you send a wave and remotely can tell at a long distance, could be 400 kilometers, could be thousands of kilometers away, what's happening out there from the reception of what we receive back from the scattered energy. So my point is how we use these deep learning algorithms to train the machines so they can give us some reliable answers. Now, in the arena of banking, for example, which falls in the commercial sector, can you imagine one little mistake can lead to a tremendous disaster, collapse of a bank or a banking system. So that's why I say there will be always humans interacting with machines, and there will be always new jobs created, not only in manufacturing these AI machines, not only in the software development, but running them reliably. Trusting a machine is not so normal for a human being. Trusting a human being is not normal.
There are several AI startups, have come up recently. OpenAI is, one of the largest ones. And there is a new trend which I've seen recently. There are several Indians who are going to the US and they are starting new AI startups. For example, Arvind Srinivas, he's running Perplexity in the US, and former CEO of Infosys, Vishal Sikka, he's running, I think, Vian AI. Similarly, former Twitter CEO Parag Agarwal, he runs Parallel Web Systems. So in the US. So now, I mean, do you think Indians should go to the US and set up AI startups there, or is this the time for successful Indian Americans to come back and start the AI startups back home in India? What is your view on this?
My view is both things should be done. It's not either one of them. There should be interaction of people. There should be experts from foreign, like America, coming to India and sharing that expertise in AI with the Indian industry. There should be expertise that Indians have, Bharat Varshis have, that can go to America. So that transfer of knowledge between the two countries should continue. And again, I say that the meaningful thing for the next generation is to do two things. A, understand clearly the potential of artificial intelligence, because it's not a do-all technology. No. Number two, understand clearly the limitations. There are strict limitations that AI has, and ignoring them is going to bite very badly humans. So we must understand machines have limitations. So am I making this point clear?
Yes, certainly, certainly.
They may not get tired, but they need power, stable power. We need to make them reliable, repeatedly reliable. We need to make them long lasting. We need to make them cost effective. That's not a joke. That comes at a price. And we have to balance that. Can we afford to automate? It's humans versus machines at times. Like you are saying, so many million jobs will be lost. It's a human versus machine. And I think humans will definitely win in the long run.
Okay, it is often quoted that AI is very different from all the technologies because the pace at which it is growing, it's phenomenal. I mean, there have been several path-breaking technologies in the past, including IT and various technologies, but the pace at which they have grown, it has been incremental. But often it is argued that this is very different from other technologies because it is self-learning, and how it is growing and the pace at which it is growing, it's mind-boggling. So you have been a technologist for almost half a century. So what is your view on this? Do you think it's actually different from the other technologies, or do you think this is just one of the technologies that we have seen in the past?
It's one of the technologies. There are many aspects to this technology, but one of the aspects is, for example, we had virtual reality where everybody thought, man, virtual reality is going to be and all. Gee, did it? No. There are many of these things that are hyped up and should be hyped up by the private sector because sales is their intention, right? So they have to find tools and ways to advance their cause, to increase the sales of their products. And this is an excellent way to do it, to attract more customers. But the point is this, that AI is applicable, and rightfully so, in many of these problems. But many of the problems it's not applicable. And where it's not applicable, if people force the applicability, they will fail. So I don't know if I answered your question, but this phenomenal growth is because we are finding hardware and software that's amenable for automation. So we're doing that. But I've seen failures, catastrophic failures. For example, you automate just making potato chips. And if one thing goes wrong, you lost a day's worth of potato chips in a hurry.
Right.
If the temperature of the oil, the oil in which these chips are going, etc. But my point is should be clear to you.
Yes,
it's not a failure-proof technology. It's full of failures.
Right. Recently I was reading that Elon Musk and Nvidia CEO, they have emphasized that since AI can do a lot of things, including coding, now youngsters, instead of trying to become software engineer, they should get back to learning the basic sciences. What they emphasized is that youngsters should learn basic physics and basic mathematics, because eventually when they want to develop the products, the fundamentals of sciences should be very strong. So what is your view on this? I mean, in last, I think a few decades, most youngsters, in order to become, software engineer, the priority of understanding and learning basic sciences, basic physics, chemistry, it has been on the backseat. Now, even the pioneers of technology, they have been saying that, it's time that people should get back to learning the basic sciences. What is your view on this?
My view is, I will give you a simple example. I was trying to do my own programming in 1969-70. We had a major program. We were monitoring the Earth with planes, different sensors in microwave, in infrared, in optical systems. We were monitoring like that. And then we took that technology to Skylab, and we were monitoring from their CSAT, etc. My point is this. At that time, I got attracted. I wanted to do my own programming. And I think my director made it clear to me. He said, we have a lot of programmers, Dr. Krishen, but we need a scientist to tell the programmers what to program, how to say that a typhoon is coming. What are the indications from these sensors? Not all sensors can see a typhoon coming, right? At night, for example, an oil spill at night. My point is, there is a physics, the chemistry, the biology, all these sciences cannot be ignored. The automation comes after you have a body of knowledge that you want to automate. I am clearly understanding that in the past couple of decades, especially 2-3 decades, a lot of our brain power got involved in running these software, which could be run by machines. There was no new thing generated in running these softwares. So I think to that extent, I say, let the machines take over this repeated doing of same things and involving the same software. Let's develop new routines. Right now, if I told you in a place like Greater Kailash 1 in Delhi, what will be the weather after 10 days, you will have no answer. And let me tell you, the machine can do it if you feed the machine the right data for the last 25, 30 years, develop a deep learning algorithm. But even then, humans must decide which sensors are amenable to what is needed. If you want temperature in Greater Kailash 1, it's not that all the sensors can give you the temperature, right? So that decision of physics and chemistry and biology and hydrology and all these sciences rests on humans. Let me make the last point. in my viewpoint, it's very difficult for a machine to imitate the human brain because we're capable of extrapolating the knowledge. We're capable of going beyond senses. We're capable of going to metaphysical domains. And a lot of these scientists have done that. And that's how we have, for example, theory of relativity and many of the theories, because that metaphysical domain where you literally have no physical data, but you are dealing with the experience and dealing with a lot of wisdom. Now, what is wisdom? Many people say, I can make a wise robot. Try it. The wisdom that you will give to the robot will be the human wisdom, right? So we are dealing with entirely two different sets of capabilities. The human capability, in my viewpoint, should be utilized for generating knowledge, understanding what needs to be done. Right now, I'm asking a lot of physicists, give me a method that I can put an electromagnetic wave on tall trees, and it penetrates the tall trees, goes to the ground, comes back from the ground, again goes through these trees, and goes to my sensor in the airplane or unattended aerial vehicle. Now, how do you develop this model? Let me tell you, if you do not involve humans in this, it'll be very difficult, if not impossible, to do it by machines, because there's a lot of approximations to be done. There's a lot of extrapolations to be done. There's a lot of mathematical modeling that needs to be decided how to do it, boundary value problems, and so on and so forth. This is in the nutshell, I would say, the development of the knowledge, higher knowledge, where unknown things, where mysteries need to be solved, has to be done by human brain. And we can codify that knowledge and put it in the machines. Now, that's what my viewpoint is.
So very valid point you made. Very valid point you made. Just to paraphrase what you said, youngsters should not be scared of this, new technology AI, which reportedly can take over most of the jobs, if not all. But the point that you are making is that ultimately it's humans who have to run those systems. They have to, give instruction. So the importance of humans will not only decrease, but it will increase, as you said, that several new jobs will be created. So that's a very, very optimistic view and very valid point. And very pertinently, you mentioned that this is not something, which is different from the preceding technologies, as a very good example that you gave of virtual reality. Because I also remember, when VR was new, the similar things used to be said as they are being said about the AIs. On that note, I think we should wrap up this conversation. And it was lovely talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed talking to you. As I said, it's transferred intelligence.
Thank you.